So here we are 10 years later, and I'm still the only woman on the agenda in case you haven't noticed. And so for the next few minutes, I'm going to challenge you to sort of oscillate between the slides and what I've got to say because I had no idea how to really illustrate what I intended to speak to. So, just consider that a distraction maybe. But there could be a quiz about how there are some obscure connections here. So I've taken this event to be at least notionally about how a decade's worth of experience can change or inform creativity. So right off the bat, it's been pretty eventful. We have had a global financial crisis spawned by pyramid schemes of greed, the transfer of risk, and a theory of the greater fool. And if you don't know what that is, you can talk to me later. Then we had 8 empowering years of empathy and hope kicked to the curb by a draft dodging blowhard cloaked in uncontrollable self absorption and lies. And then we also had tidal flooding on a sunny day. Go figure. So we share all of these experiences from the past decade, regardless of our place in the universe. But our specific conditions do put a different spin on 10 years. I will grant you, for instance, that certain decades in a lifetime are inherently eventful. The 10 years, say, between 21 and 31 can be huge, blurry, risky, and a bit of a relief when over. You emerge married with children and holding down a job. And while you may still live with your parents, you do feel that you are in some fashion on your way. For me, it has been the 10 years roughly 41 to 51, plus or minus. Typically, this might be considered a rather lackluster decade, notable for little. It's the cusp of the midlife crisis, divorce, a few pounds, children off to college, but it has held a bit more anxiety for me as I became a widow with a career, a daughter of 11, and a lot of unfinished business. My architectural practice has matured. It still consists of some interesting work that reflects an ongoing commitment to sustainability and a symbiotic relationship between building form and the landscape. And I think you would find that there is a bit more sophistication in the conceptualization and details borne out in the work. A factory's playful facades in Pittsburgh, a King Street building's recreated storefront for the College of Charleston, a camouflaged cabin in Saluda. It is unfortunate that you will not get to experience the rooftop club of a small Upper King Street hotel that married a bluestone facade with archways of greenery along the street, just because, well, the property was sold on that last one, and it's now a timeshare, which contributes even less to the local economy than a hotel. So after that episode, I took a bit of a sabbatical of sorts from my architectural practice and turned my focus to livability and notions of civic engagement. And I launched a website called ifyouweremayor.com as an effort to empower people in the area to share ideas and issues in advance of the mayoral race that would replace the indomitable Joe Riley after 40 years. The backbone of that was research done by my late husband, Edwin Gardner, on the various metrics associated with the concept of livability. You might remember that I said some things about unfinished business. And the initial seeding and germination came from great organizations in the city that were advocating for facets of what makes a city thrive, economically, socially, and creatively. And over the course of the year-long campaign, our efforts found voice in numerous public forums with all or most of the slate of candidates, and those candidates really got an earful. And I'm not bragging too much, but Mayor Tecklenburg owes some of his successful campaign to those efforts. And by late 2015, I really felt empowered and hopeful in light of this sort of energy. But by late 2016, my own energy was very depleted, and I felt a need to recalibrate, and I turned my attention to my daughter in her last year of high school and as she would transition to college. I'm sure I made the correct choice, rather. She's now a sophomore at the University of Chicago, and she's doing quite well. Now I'm back practicing architecture with an eye to finding partners willing to reshape development to better suit the people who live, work, and play in cities. I've been working on a kind of project that has marked the most enjoyable aspects of my career. It consists of 33 350 square foot units of housing with a portion dedicated as affordable rental apartments. I'm working with a remarkable team of people committed to making Charleston better. I learned a great deal in this decade about the value of civic engagement and public input and my own oneness. You can easily sense there being a face-off between the value of living in Charleston versus the value of the city as it is continuously bought and sold. For me, it affects architecture, individual expression, and day-to-day life. Whether livability in the city can prevail in this tussle requires our collaborative efforts to advocate for diverse opinions to coexist, to promote innovation and economic opportunities locally, to preserve and enhance our historic core, and to ensure that social justice underpins our decision making. It can be easy to be disillusioned here. An embedded bro culture, I'm the only woman on this dais. It's an embedded bro culture that really views, in many ways, women and minorities as second class. It's a racially diverse community that struggles to be heard or respected, and a default position that is too often willing to put a price tag on anything. But it is a place where, with a bit more persistence, a bit more vision, and a bit more tolerance, people who live here can make Charleston a truly progressive and engaged city in this state of South Carolina. If we can just stay above water, it can be a great place to live for many generations to come. Thank you.